Brazil will see a presidential runoff on October 30th. Lula da Silva leads the first round with over 48% of the votes. The British government had to backtrack on the proposed abolition of tax, triggered by the negative reaction of Prime Minister Liz Truss's partners and the collapse of the economy. And also, the Economic Community of West African States, Ecowas, welcomes the resolution of the crisis in Burkina Faso. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. And now we begin with the news. Brazil goes to presidential runoff on October 30th. Lula da Silva leads the first round with over 48% of the votes and will face current President Jair Bolsonaro. According to data from the Superior Electoral Court, with more than 99% of the votes counted, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva obtained the majority of the votes, with 48.37% of the votes against 43.25% by far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro. The president of Brazil's Superior Electoral Tribunal, Alexandre de Moraes, stressed that the elections are already mathematically defined and praised Brazilians' commitment to these elections. Brazil's Supreme Electoral Court addressed the quality of this election with lower abstention numbers and votes that are white or clean.
Was just like the media of the other elections, something about 20.89%. The last election was a little higher, was 23.15, but obviously, because of the pandemic problems we had, the number was a little higher in the last election, the numbers of abstention. But we had this level of 20%, and the fact that is more interesting is that those that appeared and voted, we had the less historical numbers of the votes that are white or clean.
In the same line, the official stated that the election was normal and people could vote without problems.
Any interference or problem that was considered urgent in our system, in our work today. We have only one in São Paulo that got our attention, but didn't have any relation with the elections. Nothing that was off of the election normals issues. Those people who went to vote until 5, they have the opportunity to vote, no problem. There was no stop on the operation. The counting of the votes were on time.
Presidential candidate Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva expressed in a closer speech of the first round of the elections how important the support of the Brazilian people is to achieve the victory.
The fight continues until the final victory. This is our motto. We hope to count with the support and solidarity of each and every one of you in the work uncontainable of you behind those candidates. We are going to see the free Brazil and the regions that we have to go. We are going to the second round, so we have an alliance very strong.
Current President of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, gave a speech after this Sunday presidential elections about the results and said that was good numbers. Likewise, the second round of these presidential elections will be on October 30th to define the next president.
We've grown quite a lot. They are people who have aligned themselves with me and my party. And there's going to be more people joining us in the next few days. We have total confidence because we have to trust the institutes, the opinion polls. Datafola is giving me a good record, and all this helps us win votes.
We'll take a short break, but first, remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account at teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. More news coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Colombia, at least 22 people were injured, including 8 minors, after an explosion that occurred in a gas tank. The event took place in the municipality of Barranca Bermeja, department of Santander, during the night of this Saturday in the facilities of a company that is dedicated to the sale and distribution of gas cylinders. The mayor's office of Barranca Bermeja declared the hospital on yellow alert to activate all the emergency units of the health care centers of the city. Local authorities reported that the causes of the explosion are currently unknown, so investigations are ongoing. In Panama, the police seized 2.9 tons of drugs in several operations carried out in recent hours in the country, an entry point in Central America for drugs destined for the United States. The first operation took place in the region of Gunayala when units of the National Air and Naval Service, SINAN, intercepted a speedboat in the Sidra River with 2,006 packages of approximately 1 kilo each. The drug, presumably cocaine, was found after the crew members of the boat jumped into the water when they noticed the presence of the agents. In a second operation, the police were able to locate in a port in the province of Colón another 990 packages of drugs hidden in a container with altered seals. Panama is the gateway to Central America for drugs that are transported from South America to the United States, the world's main consumer of cocaine.
Paquetes de droga escondidos en un contenedor.
Now we move on to other topics. In the Dominican Republic, health authorities reported 98 new COVID-19 infections in the last 24 hours. According to information provided by the Ministry of Public Health and Social Assistance, the new infections were detected in several regions of the country, including the capital, Santo Domingo. With these new confirmed cases, the Caribbean nation accumulates more than 642,000 infections and more than 4,000 deaths due to the newest coronavirus. And now we address other topics. Rapidly intensifying Category 4 Hurricane Orlene is approaching western Mexico, where it is expected to cause life-threatening flooding. According to the National Hurricane Center, Orlene has maximum sustained winds over 200 kilometers per hour and was heading north about 135 kilometers south of Islas Marias, Mexico. The country's Conagua agency said the hurricane is projected to reach the coast of mainland Mexico on Monday, making landfall south of Mazatlan, Sinaloa. The storm will produce heavy downpours and landslides along the western coast of the country. Cuba's President Miguel Díaz-Canel and other members of the Cuban executive branch held a new meeting on Saturday with regional authorities where they agreed to concentrate efforts, especially in the recovery of Pinar del Río and Artemisa provinces, two of the areas most affected by Hurricane Ian. The national authorities and the Cuban Revolutionary Armed Forces are working tirelessly with local governments to recover normality in the areas most affected by the Category 3 hurricane, which caused serious damage, especially in the western part of the country. Various issues were reviewed. Regarding the recovery of the electric power system, the minister, Liban Arronte, informed that several power plants are already operative. President Miguel Diaz-Canel urged the need to focus on education a few hours before the start of the academic activities in the areas affected by Hurricane Ian.
To start the course because it's further step towards a normality, and it also allows family planning because people already have their children in school. They join the recovery task, they get back to work. That's very important to take it into account.
And the Songliao Basin in the northeast China has registered great success in its pursuit of green development over the past 10 years. The 4 provincial-level regions along the Zhongshuo River have given priority to the protection of the ecological environment and thus have a forest coverage of nearly 88% nowadays, while preserving the clear water for the source. The city of Jilin in 2017 launched a project of building an ecological corridor along the river. It is aimed at integrating functions such as flood control, conservation of habitats for fauna and flora species, and cultural tourism. A better ecological environment has given rise to the formation of new driving forces for development in the region.
We have spent nearly 10 years building 48 large reservoirs in the Zhongshuo River Basin, with an annual water supply of 46 billion cubic meters, effectively guaranteeing stable and high-yield crop production on 54 million hectares of irrigated farmland.
The British government was forced on Monday to backtrack on the proposed abolition of a tax percentage. The negative reaction of Prime Minister Liz Truss' partners and the collapse of the economy were the triggering factors. Finance Minister Kwasi Kwarteng announced that the government will not lower the top income tax bracket from 45 to 40%, accepting that the decision had, in his words, become a distraction from the primary mission, which was to address the challenges facing the United Kingdom. He ratified that he will not go ahead with the abolition. The fiscal plan presented on September 23rd not only plummeted the pound sterling, but also the electoral expectations of the Conservatives. And the jury of the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, Sweden, awarded the Nobel Prize for Medicine to Swedish geneticist Svante Pääbo on Monday. The scientist wins the award that inaugurates the Nobel season for his discoveries on the genomes of extinct hominids and human evolution. Through his world-first research, the geneticist succeeded in sequencing the genome of a Neanderthal, an extinct relative of modern humans. As if that were not enough, Pääbo also made the extraordinary discovery of an unknown primate. The work of his Swedish researcher has given rise to a completely new scientific discipline, paleogenomics. In Spain, authorities reported on Sunday they found 4 bodies in a boat of migrants on the coast of the Canary Islands. The Marine Rescue Corps reported that the ship Miguel de Cervantes recovered the bodies of the deceased in a pneumatic drift, located about 150 kilometers southwest of the Canary Archipelago. The authorities also pointed out that in the boat, only a 27-year-old boy was found, originally from Ivory Coast, and it was detected by a merchant ship and had to be evacuated by helicopter. The authorities also stated that the vessel consisted of at least 34 crew members, of whom 29 drowned. This event adds to the list of shipwrecks of 2022, where around 978 people died trying to reach Spain. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. The Economic Community of West African States, Ecowas, welcomes the resolution of the crisis in Burkina Faso. After learning of the resignation of Lieutenant Paul-Henri Sandaogo as a consequence of the coup d'etat on September 30th, the president of the community, Imero Siseko Embalo, congratulated the military leaders for accepting a peaceful resolution on the differences, in particular the decision of Lieutenant Colonel Sandaogo, who with his resignation has avoided a bloodbath. This Monday, a mission of the economic community arrived in the country to accompany the beginning of the process and to guarantee stability. On Sunday, the Russian government announced that the leaks of the Nord Stream pipelines can be repaired. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak informed that the reconstruction of the gas pipelines infrastructure is possible. The official pointed out that the repairs may take several days, while stressing that the inoperability of the gas pipelines is in the interest of the states, who oppose the project carried out with several countries. Novak also stated that the investigations on the damages caused to the gas pipelines are still in progress. In Russia, the Constitutional Court endorsed the accession of the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics and the Kherson and Zaporizhia provinces as new federated entities. The entity explained that there will be a transition until January 1, 2026 for the full integration of the new territories into the economic, financial and legal system of the Russian Federation. The measure is a step after the formalization of the accession protocols by President Vladimir Putin and the leaders of the four regions. Moscow asserted that this process guarantees the security of citizens and will stop the attacks that the Ukrainian government carries out with the weapons supplied by the United States and its allies. Diplomats from Armenia and Azerbaijan met in Switzerland to advance a series of peace talks. The meeting between Azeri Foreign Minister Ceyhun Baryamov and his Armenian counterpart Ararat Mirzoyan took place in Geneva near the United Nations headquarters. These talks occurred due to the recent tensions reported on the common border between the two nations in the context of the conflicts over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. This meeting was also the first face-to-face meeting between the leaders of Armenia and Turkey, Azerbaijan's main ally, since 2010. In Afghanistan, students demonstrated after the bombing of a school in the city of Herat. The demonstrators condemned the attack on the institution, where more than 30 people were killed and another 82 were injured. According to local authorities, most of the victims were girls and young women. In this context, citizens reiterated that education is a right, while rejecting the frequent attacks in the city. In Kenya, President William Ruto said he will advocate national unity and stressed that no part of the country will be left out in terms of development. The Kenyan head of state reiterated that the time of political competition was over and pointed out that now was the time to work for the country. The president explained that among the government plans are planned the improvement of roads, the construction of 5,000 homes down the coast for the population, and the repair of the sewerage and water system in the city. Ruto maintains a conciliatory tone towards the leaders who oppose the results that made him the fifth president of Kenya after independence in 1963. We have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.